The afternoon sun baked the quiet residential complex, turning the community pool into the only place anyone wanted to be. Kids splashed in the water, neighbors chatted on lounge chairs, and everything felt peaceful, until Karen arrived. She marched toward the pool gate, arms crossed, eyes sharp, already annoyed before anyone even spoke. Behind her, her husband Mark walked calmly, wearing jeans, a red flannel shirt, and holding a small ring of keys. He looked like an ordinary man, relaxed, almost bored, but his eyes quietly scanned everything around him. Karen stopped near the "Residents Only" sign and pointed angrily at a young family sitting by the pool. "They don't live here," she snapped loudly. "I've never seen them before." The conversations around the pool slowed. A few people looked up. The family looked confused. "We were invited by a resident," the father said carefully. Karen scoffed. "That's what they all say." She turned to Mark. "I'm calling the cops. These people think rules don't apply to them." Mark sighed softly. "Karen, it's not a big deal. Let the staff handle it." But Karen was already dialing, pacing back and forth like she had been waiting her whole life for this moment. Within minutes, a police car pulled up. 2 officers stepped out, confident and serious. Karen rushed toward them like a child running to a teacher. "These people are trespassing," she said dramatically. "And my husband won't do anything about it." One officer raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, are you saying your husband is refusing to cooperate?" Karen folded her arms. "Yes, he thinks he knows better." The officer approached Mark. "Sir, can we see some ID?" Mark looked at him calmly. "Before we do this, can I ask who made the complaint?" Karen stepped forward proudly. "I did, and my husband is a cop, so I know the law." The officers exchanged confused looks. "A cop?" one asked, turning back to Mark. Mark smiled faintly. "She thinks I am." The tension in the air thickened. Neighbors leaned closer. Whispers started spreading through the crowd. Karen laughed nervously. "Stop joking, Mark. Show them your badge." Mark paused. Then, slowly, he reached into his jacket. The moment stretched, long enough for everyone to hold their breath. And what he pulled out would change everything. Mark didn't rush. That alone made the officers uneasy. Slowly, deliberately, he pulled out a small black leather wallet and held it up, not too high, not too low. The crowd leaned in. Karen crossed her arms, already wearing a smug smile. "See," she said loudly. "Told you, my husband's a cop." Mark opened the wallet. The smile vanished from Karen's face. Inside wasn't a local police badge. It was black and gold. One of the officers froze. The other instinctively straightened his posture. "Sir," the taller officer said carefully, "would you mind stepping aside for a moment?" Karen laughed. "Why are you being so formal? He's just..." The officer didn't take his eyes off the badge. "Yes, ma'am," he said firmly, "we need a moment." Mark stepped to the side. The officers followed, lowering their voices. Karen stood there confused, irritation slowly turning into doubt. Around the pool, whispers exploded. "Did you see that? That's not a police badge. Was that FBI?" Karen's head snapped toward the crowd. "Stop staring. This is ridiculous." Mark closed the wallet and finally spoke. "I didn't want it to go this way." The shorter officer swallowed. "Sir, are you currently active?" Mark nodded once. The officer exhaled sharply. "Undercover." Another nod. Karen's face went pale. "Undercover," she repeated. "What does that mean?" Mark looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time all afternoon. "It means," he said quietly, "you just called uniformed police on a federal operation." Silence fell over the pool. The kids stopped splashing. A man dropped his soda. Even the breeze seemed to disappear. Karen shook her head, forcing a laugh. "That's not funny. Mark, stop messing around." The taller officer turned to her. "Ma'am," he said seriously, "your husband is not joking." Her legs weakened. What operation?" she whispered. Mark glanced around the pool, eyes sharp now, alert. "That's exactly why I didn't want you making a scene." In the distance, a black SUV slowly rolled to a stop outside the gate. And then another. The black SUV's engine went quiet. Then the second one. The gates of the apartment complex felt suddenly smaller, like the air itself had been pulled tight. 2 men and a woman stepped out of the vehicles, not in uniforms, not in a hurry, but with the unmistakable confidence of people who didn't need to explain themselves. Mark's jaw tightened. "Karen," he said calmly, "I need you to stay exactly where you are." Her voice trembled. "Mark, what's happening?" One of the uniformed officers spoke quickly into his radio. his tone respectful now, almost nervous. The mood had shifted completely. Whatever authority he thought he had moments ago was gone. The woman from the SUV approached Mark and gave a subtle nod. "We've got movement," she said quietly. Mark's eyes swept across the pool area. Families, kids, elderly couples, normal people enjoying a normal day. And then, he saw it. Near the far fence, a man in sunglasses stood up too fast. He whispered something into his phone and started walking away, cutting through the grass instead of using the path. Mark's voice dropped. "That's him." Karen followed his gaze, her heart pounding. "Who?" "The reason we're here." Before anyone could react, the man broke into a run. "Move!" Mark shouted. The FBI agents exploded into action. "Sir, stop where you are!" one agent yelled. The man didn't stop. People screamed as agents sprinted past lounge chairs, knocking over towels and drinks. One agent vaulted the low fence near the pool while another cut him off from the parking lot. The suspect turned, desperate, and shoved an elderly man aside. Karen gasped. Mark ran, faster than Karen had ever seen him move. Years of training took over. He tackled the man hard onto the concrete just as the suspect tried to pull something from his jacket. "Don't!" Mark roared, slamming the man's arm down. Handcuffs snapped shut. The crowd stood frozen. An agent lifted a small device from the suspect's pocket, metallic, unfamiliar, blinking faintly. The woman agent's face darkened. "That's not good." "What is it?" Karen whispered, barely able to breathe. Mark stood up slowly, chest heaving. "A detonator." A collective gasp swept through the pool area. The uniformed officers immediately began shouting instructions. "Everyone away from the pool. Move back now. Hands where we can see them." Parents grabbed children. Neighbors stumbled backward. Fear replaced curiosity. Karen's knees buckled. Mark caught her just in time. "I told you this wasn't about pool rules," he said softly. Tears streamed down her face. "You never told me." "I couldn't." The woman agent approached, voice low but urgent. "We believe there may be a second device already planted." Karen looked around in terror. "Here." Mark nodded grimly. "That's why I was watching everyone. That's why the guests mattered. Not because they didn't belong, but because someone dangerous did." Sirens echoed in the distance. More vehicles were coming. The peaceful afternoon was officially over. And the worst part, they hadn't found the bomb yet. The pool was empty now. Towels lay abandoned, flip-flops scattered across the concrete, and the water, once filled with laughter, sat eerily still. Police tape flapped in the breeze as bomb squad trucks rolled in, lights flashing but sirens silent. Karen sat on the curb, wrapped in a blanket, her hands shaking. Mark stood a few feet away, speaking quietly with the FBI team. His calm never broke, even now. To everyone else it looked like confidence, but Karen finally understood the truth. It was discipline. A bomb technician approached the pool slowly, carefully scanning every inch. Minutes felt like hours. No one spoke. Every breath felt loud. Then the radio crackled. Device located. Karen pressed her hands to her mouth. Near the pool drain, hidden beneath a loose grate, was a small improvised explosive. It wasn't meant to destroy the complex, it was meant to send a message. The suspect they'd caught was part of a larger investigation involving extortion and intimidation. The pool was chosen because it was crowded, visible, and would cause panic without mass destruction. The device was disarmed safely. A collective sigh of relief moved through the crowd like a wave. Mark finally walked over to Karen. "It's over," he said gently. She looked up at him, eyes red. "I thought you were just being difficult, quiet, distant." He knelt in front of her. "Being undercover means protecting people without being seen, even from the ones you love." Karen nodded slowly, shame washing over her. "I wanted to be right," she whispered. "I wanted control." Mark took her hands. And today, that almost got someone hurt. The uniformed officers approached and thanked Mark, their earlier attitude replaced with respect. Neighbors watched from a distance, no longer judgmental, only grateful. As the sun began to set, the complex returned to silence. But everyone there had changed. Karen stood up, looking at the pool one last time. "I'm sorry," she said. "For judging, for assuming, for making noise when I should have listened." Mark squeezed her hand. Sometimes the loudest danger isn't a bomb. It's ego. Moral of the story: never let pride, assumptions, or the need to feel powerful override patience and understanding.